From Sydney to Mumbai to Europe, communities around the world began welcoming 2025 with spectacular light shows, embraces and ice plunges. More than a year after it was taken out of service by Israeli bombing, the Al Nasser Eye Hospital in Gaza City reopens its doors. And officials in Ecuador said Tuesday that genetic tests on charred bodies found near a military base confirmed they are those of 4 boys abducted by soldiers 3 weeks ago. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. From Sydney to Mumbai to Europe, communities around the world began welcoming 2025 with spectacular light shows, embraces and ice plunges. The Pacific island nation of Kiribati was the first country to bring in 2025 with its 133,500,000 citizens celebrating the new year at 5 a.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday. The New Zealand city of Auckland became the first major city to welcome the new year as thousands thronged downtown or climbed the city's ring of volcanic peaks for a fireworks vantage point. In all, there are 39 different local time zones in use across the globe, some differing by 15 or 30 minutes compared to nearby zones, including 2 that are more than 12 hours ahead of UTC. This means it takes 26 hours for the entire world to welcome the new year. During his last Mass of the year, celebrated Tuesday in the Vatican's Basilica of St. Peter, Pope Francis called for fraternity as the basis of hope for the world. The Holy Father also referred to the preparations made in Rome for the celebrations of the Jubilee, an event that began last December 24th and will last throughout 2025. The Jubilee is celebrated every 25 years and offers indulgence for sins to the pilgrims who attended. At least 30 million worshippers are expected to participate in the religious celebrations in the next 12 months. After the Mass, Pope Francis went out to St. Peter's Square, where he visited the Nativity set on display and greeted hundreds of Christians gathered in the area.
Ed è vero pensare che la nostra
It is nice to think that our city in recent months has become a building site for this purpose, with this overall sense, preparing to welcome men and women from all over the world, Catholics and Christians, people of other confessions, believers of every religion, seekers of truth, freedom, justice and peace, all pilgrims of hope and fraternity.
Credenti di ogni religione, cercatori di verità, di libertà, di giustizia.
President Vladimir Putin addressed the Russian people minutes away from the arrival of the new year with a televised message in which he highlighted the nation's achievements during 2024, praised the Russian people's unity and those on the battlefield who he described as real heroes defending the protection of their homeland. Putin also announced that in the soldiers' honor, as a tribute to the nation's forefathers and to commemorate the 8th anniversary of the victory over Nazi Germany, the year 2025 will be called in the year of the defender of the fatherland.
To commemorate the 80th anniversary of the great victory, and as a tribute to our forefathers who fought for their country through the ages. 2025 has been declared the year of the defender of the fatherland in Russia.
The Chinese government rejected Tuesday allegations that it has carried out cyber attacks against the U.S. Treasury Department. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said her country has repeatedly made clear its stance on such statements, adding that China has always opposed all kinds of hacker attacks. The U.S. Treasury Department warned Monday that an alleged hacking operation promoted by China gained access to its computer systems to steal documents. According to a Treasury statement, the alleged hack was announced by the external software service provider Beyond Trust, who claimed that a threatening actor gained access to a key to access certain workstations. The U.S. Treasury has not offered details about the number of stations affected or the type of documentation obtained, although it assured that the compromised services have been disconnected.
infundadas.
Many times regarding such accusations that lack evidence, China has always opposed all forms of hacker attacks and to the spread of false information against China for political purposes.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. More than a year after it was taken out of service by Israeli bombing, the Al-Nasser Eye Hospital in Gaza City reopens its doors. According to the Undersecretary for the Palestinian Ministry of Health, the opening comes while the Palestinians are still grieving the destruction and burning of the Kamal Adwan Hospital and the destruction of the Indonesian hospital. A United Nations report published Tuesday found that Israeli strikes on and near hospitals in the Gaza Strip had left healthcare in the Palestinian territory on the verge of collapse. According to the report, there have been at least 136 strikes on 27 hospitals and 12 other medical facilities, leaving significant casualties among doctors, nurses, medics and other civilians, and causing significant damage or complete destruction to civilian infrastructure since October 7, 2023.
This opening comes while we are grieving the destruction and burning of Kamal Adwan Hospital and the destruction of the Indonesian hospital. This is our message to the world, that we are a people who deserve life, that our sick deserve to live.
Emergency services will operate 24/7. As well as various surgical services and short-stay daily care services in the hospital.
This year, 2024, may have been one of the best for many people. However, for Gazans, it has been quite the opposite. Since October 2023, the Israeli army began a genocidal war in the Gaza Strip, which continues to this day. As a result, Gazans have faced endless hardships. Our correspondent in Gaza, Huda Hegazi, brings us more details about it.
For many people, this 2024 may have been one of the best years. However, for Gazans and here in the Gaza Strip, we could say that it has been one of the worst years, or even the worst. Since October 2023, the Israeli army started a genocidal war here in the Gaza Strip, which to this day continues for more than 440 consecutive days, and we're talking about approximately 14 months. And therefore, this 2024 has been a year of consecutive war here in the Gaza Strip. During this year, the Gazans have lived in continuous death, continuous destruction, in continuous bombing, in continuous loss of loved ones. Moreover, we're talking about that during these 14 months of the Israeli genocidal war, the Zionist regime has killed more than 45,000 Gazans. Among them, we're talking about that approximately 18,000 of these victims are children and approximately 12,000 are women. We're also saying that more than 100,000 people have been wounded, not to mention the continuous attack on schools, which are the shelters where Gazans are evacuated, and also the attack on hospitals where during this Israeli war, more than 35 hospitals have been put out of service, and now at this very moment, there are only 5 hospitals functioning in the Gaza Strip. And yet, this has not been the suffering of the Gazans, but as we can see, during these 14 consecutive months, during this 2024, the Gazans have lived in these conditions, in these tents, They have endured the cold and the rains of the winter, the heat of the summer, and now, again, they are facing the cold of the winter. Even as we can see, the situation is very difficult. Also, during this whole year, due to these living conditions where the Gazans are living, the lack of hygiene, as we can see at this moment, new diseases have started to spread, such as child polio, where already yesterday 2 new cases were discovered, and therefore, as we can see, this 2024 has not been at all pleasant for the Gazans. Now we will talk to this Gazan lady who resides in this tent to tell us what this 2024 has been like for her. What has 2024 been like for you, especially since you have to live in a tent?
The year 2024 has been the year of troubles, of loss, of death, of sorrow. We have been living all this year in this tent, which floods every time it rains. What we want in this new year is to live in peace, to live with stability. We want to have a home. Our children have died from cold. We want a place with the warmth of home and family.
As we have heard, for the Gazans, this year has undoubtedly been the worst year ever. They have been living in inhumane conditions, totally different from what the previous years were. Even before this genocidal war, these holidays were a time of celebration. The streets of the Gaza Strip were decorated, and Gazans were trying to welcome the new year with excitement, but now everything is destroyed and even people themselves are broken. However, what Gazans wish for this new year, for the year 2025, is that this genocidal war ends, as well as all the pain they have been living for over 14 consecutive months. And what is expected is the end of this genocide, and above all, the return of Gazans to their homes and to be reunited with their loved ones. Since we're talking about the fact that many people are far away from their families, especially at this time of the year, when the family is united, it is already being felt the impact of the Israeli war that has been going on over 4 consecutive months here in the Gaza Strip.
Palestinians received the new year in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, a product of the Israeli genocidal operation in the region that entails the destruction of their territory under the indifferent gaze of most nations of the world. In this regard, the Palestinian Higher Presidential Committee for Church Affairs denounced in its New Year's message Tel Aviv's plans of extermination and occupation in the region, which the regime has been committing for over 14 months in open violation of human rights and in complicity with the international community. Furthermore, it warned that the Zionist forces campaign is targeting women, children, the elderly, and holy places, and stressed that the legal and moral responsibility for these crimes falls on the leaders of the world, who should act to achieve global peace. On Tuesday, Yemeni Houthi forces launched a drone and missile attack on the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier. Precisely, the spokesman for the Yemeni Armed Forces, Yahya Sadeh, informed in a joint operation by the Navy, Missile Force, and Air Force had managed to hit the 9th U.S. nuclear aircraft carrier. The military spokesman also said they had foiled an attack by Washington forces on their territory and unveiled they had carried out an operation hours earlier using Palestinian Class 2 hypersonic missile on Israeli territory. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, that you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Ecuador, the murder of the 4 missing children in Guayaquil is confirmed. The Ecuadorian prosecutor's office reports that the results of the examinations of forensic genetics confirm that the 4 bodies found in Taura correspond to the 3 teenagers and a child who disappeared after a military operation on December 8th. Officials in Ecuador said Tuesday that genetic tests on shared bodies found near a military base confirmed they are those of 4 boys taken by soldiers 3 weeks ago. According to Ecuador's prosecution service, the results of genetic forensic tests confirmed that the 4 bodies found in Taura correspond to the 3 teenagers and a boy between 11 and 15 years old who disappeared after a December 8th military operation. Their disappearance sparked protest in the South American nation, which is in the verge of an armed struggle between narco gangs and security forces. Saúl Arboleda, Steven Medina, and brothers Josué and Ismael Arroyo were out playing football in the western city of Guayaquil on December 8th when they went missing.
Basically, what will happen now is the indictment hearing, where the judge will show the citizens, and especially the jury, all the findings of the prosecutor's investigation in relation to the disappearances.
I met these boys while playing soccer in Fertiza, in a sports club in the south of the city. They have never been delinquents. They have always been athletes.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva shows progressive improvement 3 weeks after undergoing emergency surgery for a cranial hemorrhage. Scan performed on Tuesday at the Syrian-Lebanese hospital in Brasilia on the 79-year-old president's head showed a significant resorption of the hematoma, his doctors reported. Previously, doctors had reported that the state leader would undergo periodic checkups following his hospitalization in Sao Paulo for emergency surgery on December 9th. This craniocephalic surgery was aimed at reabsorbing a hematoma caused by a hemorrhage linked to an event in October when Lula was hit in the back of the neck when he fell in the bathroom of his official residence. Puerto Rico has been plunged into darkness after a power grid failure caused a blackout across much of the island during New Year's Eve. The outage happened in the early hours of Tuesday, the last day of 2024. According to the private energy company Luma, which is responsible for maintaining the electricity grid, the outage cut power to nearly 1.27 million households out of a total of 1.5 million clients. On the other hand, Puerto Rico's Governor Pedro Pierluisi tried to calm the island's 3.2 million inhabitants by assuring that the power supply would be restored soon, and he credited the massive blackout to a critical failure in the power grid. While full blackouts are relatively rare on the island, power outages have become a regular occurrence since Hurricane Maria devastated the national power grid in 2017.
At about 5:30 in the morning, there was a fault in a 230,000-volt cable in the teleSUR switchyard, which caused a cascade effect, causing about 800 megawatts of electricity to go out of sync in teleSUR at that hour, which caused a general blackout in Puerto Rico.
The truth is that we have been dealing with this problem for a while, but there have been rumors for a couple of months that what happened today could have happened, so they say that from 48 to 60 hours, we will be without power for almost 3 days and a bit. The truth is that it is something. I think that the companies that were there before worked much better than what we have now, unfortunately.
Panamanian President José Raúl Mulino reaffirmed the sovereignty of the Panama Canal on the 25th anniversary of its administration handover to the nation. In response to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's threat of appropriating the canal, Mulino clarified the waterway is not for sale, noting it will continue to belong to Panamanians and be at the service of the world. Even though the United States built it in 1914, the U.S. government transferred it to Panama on December 31, 1999. Nowadays, the U.S. is the canal's main user with over 160.1 million tons passing by the route, which represents 74.1% out of the total freight. Meanwhile, China and Japan take the subsequent positions as they harnessed the canal to move 45 million tons and 30.7 million tons, equal to 21.4% and 14.6% respectively in 2024.
It is because of our neutral stance that nations do not fear that a canal of such a strategic level as the Panama Canal could be, or take an active part in any conflict, because we Panamanians are interested in a more connected world, with a more open trade, and with a greater exchange of goods between countries. There are no other forces involved in our canal but the Panamanian ones.
No hay otras manos en nuestro canal metidas, más que las panameñas.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.